My name is Autumn Hercher, and for my place narrative project for fall 2020, I chose to focus on Atwater Beach. A little bit about Atwater Beach. Atwater is a sandy beach located in the village of Shorewood. It's about 5 acres of combined beach and park area, located in Lake Michigan, and is a really popular spot for swimming, beach activities, small boating, so like kayaking, sailboating, and even surfing. It's also a smaller and cleaner alternative to Radford Beach, which attracts a lot more like the family types and more people that are going to the beach, just hang out in more intimate groups. So it was interesting 2020 getting to observe the type of people and activities that go on there. Going into my exploration of this place, I kind of wanted to focus on biotic pyramids through Alder Leopold's work in The Land Ethic. So Alder Leopold is a forester, environmentalist, as we know, who has played a huge role in how we understand modern environmental ethics and wilderness conservation. A pivotal aspect of his work is Leopold's concept of what he refers to as the land pyramid. Leopold describes a land as a bionic mechanism. This mechanism is only effective in production if every level of the pyramid is an understanding of its purpose and how it can and does affect the other levels. So this is really where humans become an interesting aspect of the pyramid. In addition, I think for understanding of the mechanism, it's important to see it as a pyramid because the lower we go in its structure, the more animal abundance is seen. So we see that kind of pyramid shape in just a number of animals and kinds in each region. To break down the pyramid, it's kind of understood in a similar way to the food chain. So the bottom layer is soils and decomposers. On top of that is photosynthesis and primary producers, which are mostly made up of plants. Next is herbivores and primary consumers, which are organisms like insects and birds. The following is carnivores, secondary consumers, and omnivores. And the topmost layer of the pyramid is the apex layer, which are top carnivores and tertiary consumers. The top layers really rely on the bottom layers for sustenance, energy, and more. Understanding the pyramid opens the reader's eyes onto how important land is in the grand scheme of life. Basically, land is the base for how all life begins. Leopold describes the way the pyramid flows as a fountain of energy. Plants rely on stable and fertile land to root themselves. Here the plants acquire energy from the sun, that they then are able to transfer to other living things as they are consumed. At the end of the cycle, these same living things turn back to the land in decomposition, releasing their energy and creating a cycle. However, changes in the pyramid can change the way energy is shared in the cycle. Humans in particular are a huge effector of change in this energy cycle. So then moving forward with the concept of bionic pyramids, I kind of wanted to move this in to Atwater Beach because when exploring the areas, I feel like they stood out so much to me, and I could see how much the land and energy worked off of each other in these spaces. In particular, being a sandy habitat connected to fresh water made it an area of very high energy production, meaning like many animals and plants were thriving in this environment. I think a lot of that has to do with it being so close to a freshwater source and for it being in fairly natural environment. Human interaction also has a significant impact on these ecological pyramids. Many negative alterations were made in the past. For instance, the first thing you see when you walk down into Atwater Beach is these huge kind of pillars out into the water, which were, I did some research and found that they were actually used in shipping. So the beach was once used as an outlet for shipping and receiving, which was a very humanistic thing that they kind of added in that affected the beach and water and everything between. On top of that, kind of the shift from being a natural habitat into a public beach was a lot of effect you could see on the way that the land was, and I guess understanding what it could look like and how the energy could flow if it didn't have all these structures that were kind of man-made and for human use. in saying that, these structures and things were kind of made with a less understanding of the impact on our world. And exploring the place, I could kind of see how it felt like they had been going in and changing some things in modern times to make it a little bit more accessible and to strengthen these bonds between the different levels of the pyramid in this habitat. Direct human impact that I could see changing the way these biotic pyramids really worked was the fact that it was a recreational area. So Atwater is a public beach where activity and human interaction is encouraged. So there's people there every day doing things, living their lives out in that space, and kind of changing around the natural move of how things could be. And something that I kind of noticed, though, while walking around was that even on top of that, though, there was limited hours and seasons that they wanted people to be using this beach. So there was areas where, in certain months of the year, where you could see that there was policy being made to kind of leave the space alone and kind of let it carry out and do what it needed to do without any interruptions, which is very cool to see. On top of that, I did notice there was some blocked off areas. So at the sides of the beach, there's kind of these fences that go in front of the forestry that's on the side and kind of block off the wildlife and plants. So I assumed that these areas were kind of in place to keep people from entering these spaces and kind of keeping them sequestered to a certain area, which was, I think, really important to keeping this energy flow alive, because keeping the people in a certain area could, or say someone walked off into that area and ended up crushing a plant or something like that, it was good that they had these certain areas where people were supposed to be and where they were not supposed to be. On top of that, there was a lot of signs it seemed like there were rules in place for things like a trash cleanup, like you're not supposed to leave any trash on the beach. Something I found interesting with this, that there was a rule against beach fires or dumping anything there, leaving anything. And also no pets. So no dogs running around in these grassy areas, and kind of keeping all of these things separate from the way that the habitat was originally. Second thing that I noticed about the way that this biotic pyramid worked was the way that humans have changed the original land makeup. So it was very obvious that the makeup of the land was changed to support accessibility. There's a giant staircase that leads down this hill. Up at the top, there's a lot of short, groomed grass, kind of like green grass that would not be there naturally. And also, just in general, the way that the beach was laid out, it was obviously very groomed, which is not compelling to the way that it should look naturally. But something that I did notice that seemed like they had gone in and maybe made these changes were that there was these areas like along the patches of the side of the staircase and also some down by the beach. There was some patches of wild prairie and flowers of those type that are native to Wisconsin, which is pretty important for natural wildlife, natural insects, all of these things that are made to be in this area that can now grow and be attracted to this area of land, which I thought was really, really cool. I would say I wish that they would have made the top by the park area a little bit more like this as well, and kind of kept some of that normal green grass, the short green grass, out of there. I also, one of the times that I visited the beach, was walking through these kind of more prairie-like areas, and a bunch of these little green bugs, they kind of look like ladybugs. I looked down, they were all over my legs and hands, so I picked one up. I took a picture there. It's in the center, and I did some research, and they're actually called cucumber beetles. So it was kind of cool to see this kind of biotic pyramid kind of go into play. So these bugs are being attracted to the herbaceous and plant-like forms that were on the beach. So it was kind of cool to see that relationship right in front of me. The third thing I noticed about the biotic structure here at Atwater Beach was the use of man-made structures. So almost the first thing you notice when you walk down to the beach are these giant cement outgoings that go straight down into the water. And so, like I mentioned earlier, they were once in place to assist in freight shipping and boating activities of that sort, which are no longer in place. They haven't been in place for a while since it moved more into a recreational beach. And so it was interesting to see them, though, that they're still in place, and think about the kind of wildlife that are still used in that area. The beach also now uses these cement walls kind of as barriers to keep people in certain areas of the water. So lifeguards and the people that sit there to manage sit right above the first enclave of these stone walls, and kind of have this rope up above the other two that says, "Caution, please do not go in." And they have that in place to kind of keep people in certain areas and keep other areas more natural and how they're supposed to be, which I thought was kind of a cool way to use something that was once used as a freight shipping thing or a man-made activity into something that would be beneficial for the environment. The second one was these giant stairs that kind of lead down onto the beach. So it's obvious that these stairs kind of cover up these landforms that were once beneficial to the biotic pyramid, because there's all these grass and different kinds of prairie-like bushes underneath the stairs that you can see. But at the same time, these stairs are pretty beneficial because they do keep the people who are trying to go to the beach in certain areas. It's better than having, I guess I should say, people just going down this hill and walking on top of the plants. Instead of this, they get to walk on top kind of the hill and kind of have less contact with the more natural parts of it, while still enjoying and getting to see all of the awesome parts of nature that are here at Atwater. The third is playgrounds. So there's two playgrounds at Atwater Beach. They're kind of, one is off to the side over by the sand. And kind of in the same way, I saw these structures kind of as something that were man-made and kind of covered up land that could have once been beneficial to the biotic pyramid. Because this land could have held grasses, trees, different kinds of animal life that are now covered up by, like, man-put sand there. And mostly I found these structures to be pretty unnecessary. In comparison to the stairs, I could see the benefits of having a staircase to kind of sequester people to certain areas, but for the playgrounds, I understand that it's fun and it would attract more people to go there, but I felt that maybe they would be better used in a different spot, not so close to the water. Throughout my time at Atwater Beach over the semester, I really got to go in deep depth to a lot of different ecological principles and really understand this land and area a lot more than I did before. And something that just really stuck out to me throughout the entire thing was Otto Leopold's writing, and mostly his point in basically discussing biotic pyramids was that all people should have a fundamental understanding of the way that we affect the world we live in, which is kind of carried out through becoming a good ecological citizen. And to me, that kind of meant following these policies and even making policies that maintain land and minimize damage to said land. And I could really see this carried out through the way that Atwater Beach was treated. I thought the entire time I was there that it seemed like the areas around it were being cared for in the way that I could see the prairie grasses and different flowers that they had planted there, instead of maybe going for something less native, like a green grass or sod grass that would have been more easy to maintain probably and grow. They made these decisions for the good of the land, as well as structures that allowed people to experience the water and experience the beach and park, like the staircases and even the playgrounds, while still keeping it safe for the environment around it, keeping people in the places they were supposed to be, and kind of going back on some mistakes that we may have made in the past with building things without thinking of how this is going to affect the environment, like the big cement structures that go out for freight shipping. It was really cool to see how they changed and kind of made that into a more way to guide people to be doing the right thing, to be swimming in certain areas and to be protecting others from damage. Overall, it was a really awesome project, getting to go out and experience Atwater Beach in a new way that I'd never seen it before. And I really enjoyed this project, so I want to say thank you to the professor for giving us such a way to get out and kind of see more of the world around us through waterways. And thank you for listening to my presentation.